Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today for the State of Artificial Intelligence webinar. We're going to give everyone just another few minutes to join and then we'll get started. Thanks. Okay everyone, thanks for waiting. My name is Riley from CB Insights and I'll be walking you through a few housekeeping items before turning it over to Deepa for the presentation. First, don't worry about taking notes as we'll be sending both the slides and the recording to you right after the webinar. Second, if you have any technical difficulties during the webinar, your best bet is to reach out to the Citrix Help Desk. You can also tweet at us or send an email to webinar@cbinsights.com and we'll do our best to help. But again, don't worry, we're going to send everything to you after the webinar. So a little bit about Deepa. Deepa is a tech industry analyst and writer here at CB Insights. She received her undergraduate degree in engineering at the Vellore Institute of Technology in India. She studied journalism and received a degree from Columbia University Graduate School of Journalism. Before CB Insights, Deepa worked for organizations including Al Jazeera America and interns at Siemens India. Now I'm going to hand it off to her for the presentation.
Thank you, Riley. Hi everyone, my name is Deepa Shri. Thank you for joining us today for the AI briefing. We'll start off the webinar with some trends in artificial intelligence and rising interest in private companies. We'll move on to discuss some of the macro trends that are driving the AI boom. We'll then discuss startup funding as well as applications of AI today, before moving to emerging applications, and then finally wrapping up with the artificial general intelligence debate. Let's start off with the tech industry's AI revolution. To quote Andrew Ng, former chief scientist at Baidu, AI is the new electricity. So he says, just like how electricity transformed all industries 100 years ago, AI is going to do the same. If you see this media trend, just in the last 5 years, artificial intelligence has gained tremendous attention and popularity. More recently, we also saw Ford acquiring an AI company for $1 billion. In fact, there's been more than 200 private market acquisitions since 2012. Google alone has acquired 11 AI startups during this period. And last quarter, we saw Apple acquire a facial recognition company in Israel called RealFace. And last quarter was also the busiest for exits with more than 30 M&A deals. We also took a look at the AI patent application activity of Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Facebook, and Apple. As you can see from the blue bar at the bottom, Microsoft is clearly leading the way. And on the right, you can see some of the patents of Google and Facebook. The top one shows an image recognition patent using deep learning. But let's first address the elephant in the room. If you're wondering what is artificial intelligence and why everyone is suddenly talking about it, you're probably not alone. Let's take an example that most people would be familiar with. How many of you remember Clippy? At that point when Clippy was released, it seemed like an intelligent interface, prompting you with options based on words you type. It did a very specific set of tasks to help first-time word users, and not everyone was happy with Clippy. Some people even found it annoying. Now, almost a decade later, think of Alexa and how it has completely transformed how you interact with your apps using voice as an interface. This just shows how far we've come in terms of what a digital assistant can do and how machines interact with us today. So what artificial intelligence is and what an AI system can do has been a constantly changing definition with corresponding changes in technological capabilities. But here's what it's not. We're not looking at the next Terminator startup. Most of it is still a lot of number crunching, taking into account more variables than humans possibly can. One of the buzzwords in AI in the last couple of months has been chatbots. So not all bots are intelligent. So if your bot is simply doing what you ask it to do, like fetch a file or add 2 numbers, then it's not an AI-powered bot. But if your bot is interacting with you and improving its answers over time based on your previous communications, then you can call it an AI application. Think of Siri or Alexa. Machine learning is another related term that comes up a lot, and people have asked, okay, so this is an AI startup, what about machine learning? So think of AI really as a concept of a machine that can exhibit human-like intelligence. And machine learning is just a set of algorithms that are used to make a system artificially intelligent, teaching it to, say, recognize patterns from large data sets and apply those findings to a new set of data. And the algorithm improves over time, not just with more data, but also data that is relevant to the task at hand. And we can use machine learning for applications like natural language processing or computer vision. And I'm going to quickly tell you what each of those means. Say you're asking Alexa, how's the weather? And Alexa understands what you're saying and replies in a way that you can understand. So this is also about finding semantic similarities in words and performing context-specific searches. So all these come under NLP applications. And then you have vision. Say you go on an e-commerce site and you want to buy a new top. So you upload a picture of it and the system understands, okay, this is a top and not a pant. And these are its attributes. And here are all the places I've found on the web where you can buy something similar. And some other advanced vision applications would be helping a drone to avoid collision or medical imaging and diagnostics. So the next question that you may ask is, why now? We've had machine learning algorithms for decades now. What's changed suddenly? So apart from the internet and access to massive amounts of data that were previously unavailable, you also now have chips and hardware processing capabilities to train AI algorithms. So to quote the CEO of NVIDIA, deep learning is almost like the brain, but it had a huge handicap. It needs a massive amount of computation. And there we were with the GPU, a computing model almost ideal for deep learning. So focusing on this, NVIDIA is pretty much dominating the market. Initially, as many of you would know, NVIDIA was meant for the gaming industry, but they were very quick to adapt their GPUs or graphic processing units to train neural networks. And we're seeing other corporations focusing on chips too. So Intel acquired a startup called Nirvana Systems, and Google is now making its own chip called the Tensor Processing Unit. Here are some startups that are applying deep learning algorithms for various things. To the right of the image, you can see some of the acquisitions in deep learning. Google was one of the earlier acquirers. Google acquired the startup called DeepMind, which gained popularity when its AlphaGo algorithm beat a human AlphaGo champion. And more recently, we saw Etsy on the top acquire Blackbird for e-commerce applications. And to add on to this, we also have all these open source software that other startups can easily build on. So Google open sourced TensorFlow last year. SkyMind, which is a startup, commercially operates deep learning for Java, which is the second image that you see from the top, also quite popular. Microsoft now has its own cognitive toolkit. These are just some examples. There are a lot more open source libraries available. And what this has done is accelerate adoption. It's made it easy for people to build on these libraries instead of starting from scratch. And these are some of the reasons why AI has, in a way, got a fresh breath of life. But despite that, to quote Jan LeCun from Facebook, we're still a long way ahead from machines that are even as intelligent as rats. We've only seen 5% of what AI can do. Which brings us to our next section on AI applications today and the startup scene. And you may be thinking, okay, AI is the new buzzword, and some of it is also marketing. Every company wants to be an AI company, so how can you tell? Investors are using some interesting ways to gauge AI startups before investing. You can read a couple of those articles online. Another way is to look at internal R&D and study the patent and intellectual property of startups. So we'll take a quick look at that as well later in the webinar. But first, let's start off with some of the AI applications today. Like I mentioned before, a lot of it is still number crunching. So some of these applications would be business intelligence or crunching IoT data for predictive maintenance in industries. Another application is vision, like we discussed before, auto tech and drone collision avoidance, e-commerce search engines, or even pick-and-place robots in factories. And then language, we have chatbots, we have startups that are creating content for digital media, and then we have smart home voice interfaces. So these are just some of the applications today. And here's the total equity funding that has gone into AI startups since 2012. 15.4 billion across more than 2,000 deals. Let's take a quick look at the annual funding history. It started off with around 150 deals in 2012, and it's really been growing year on year. There were nearly 700 deals in 2016. Even in terms of the funding alone, 2016 saw close to 5 billion in investments. Here are the top rounds in 2016. You can see applications ranging from autonomous cars to life science to healthcare and cybersecurity. The top round was a 200 million round raised by stealth startup Zoox. And next to that, StackPath, which is a cybersecurity company, raised 180 million in private equity. Here's a quarterly breakdown of deals and funding. So Q1 17 was the most active quarter for AI startup deals. You can see around 280 deals just in one quarter and 2.1 billion in funding. And interestingly, most of these deals, almost 50%, were all seed and angel deals. So it's an indication that a lot of new companies are continuing to enter the space. And here's the global deal share, which confirms what I just said. Early stage deals, which is seed and Series A, have been accounting for at least 69% of the deal share throughout the years. So, and mid and late stage deals have been fairly constant over the years. Here's a look at how unicorns are using machine learning algorithms across industries. Some of them are in their early stages, some of them are well-established companies like Avant. Avant is using machine learning for credit scoring. It's a fintech company. You have healthcare startups like iCarbonX and Benevolent AI. And finally, at the bottom, you see Zoox and Neo, both of them autonomous vehicles. Here's a map that shows some of the most well-funded companies in each state using machine learning in different industries. So the unicorns that we saw earlier, you can see some of them here. Avant is the most well-funded in terms of equity funding out of all the companies on the map. It's based in Illinois, and we also saw Flatiron, which is in the Northeast in New York. To the left in California, STEM is an industrial IoT company focused on smart energy storage. At the bottom, you have StackPath that we saw earlier in Texas, focusing on cybersecurity. And a couple of other cybersecurity applications in Georgia and Florida as well. Moving on to the number of active investors in this space. So as you can see, in 2012, there were just around 120 VC investors in AI. And in last year, in 2016, the number was nearly 500. We saw a similar trend with corporate interest. There were less than 20 corporations investing in AI startups in 2012, and that number was more than 170 in 2016. And to the right, you have PE investors and asset management firms that have just started coming into the space. As you can tell, there were no asset management investment firms in 2012, and just over 20 last year. So just starting to step into the space. Here are some of the top investors in artificial intelligence. You have Data Collective and Intel Capital, the top VCs, followed by New Enterprise Associates. We'll be seeing some of their unique portfolio companies in just a bit. So here's a distribution of all 2,000 plus deals in AI across categories. What this really shows is that AI is really not one industry or sector, but something that is touching a lot of areas, from healthcare to fintech to cybersecurity. So I'm going to quickly pause my screen and take you into my browser to cbinsights.com/research artificial intelligence startup deals. This is a deals tracker that we're releasing to the public today, actually. So let's quickly go through what it is. It is the heat map that you saw earlier, but it's interactive. So you scroll over each quarter, you can see the number of deals. At the top, you have horizontal applications as well as healthcare. So horizontal applications is really industry agnostic AI startups that are working across multiple industries. In terms of vertical applications, healthcare is dominating all other verticals. At the bottom here, you have some of the emerging AI applications. Not that many deals here, mostly seed, Series A deals, but they're gaining traction. So one thing that really pops out from this map is this dark red square here, which is 38 equity deals to fintech and insurance tech companies. So not only is this the highest number of deals that AI in fintech has seen, it's the highest across any category and any quarter. So let's take a quick look at what's happening here. So if I click over here, it's going to take me directly to the CB Insights platform and show me just the deals in fintech and insurance tech just in that quarter. So I'm going to sort this by the top round last quarter. So the top round went to Cream Finance, as you can see here, a company based in Poland, which uses machine learning for credit scoring. So right below that, you can see the round investors here in this column. Bessemer Venture Partners and City Ventures have invested almost 11 million in this company called Clarity Money. So Clarity uses AI and machine learning for anomaly detection and natural language processing to interact with the user, among other things. And so these are some of the top rounds in insurance, fintech and insurance last quarter. So I'm going to go back to our heat map here. As I mentioned, healthcare was one of the top vertical applications. If you see here, there were less than 5 deals in Q1 12, and now you can see around 23 deals in Q1 17. So deals started picking up sometime towards the end of 2015, and across all the quarters since then, we've seen 20 plus deals. So let's see some of the latest deals here. Again, I'm going to sort them by amount. The top round here went to Freenome, so I'm going to click on Freenome and go into the company profile. If you go into financing, you can see it recently raised 65 million from investors like Andreessen Horowitz and Data Collective. Both of them had previously invested in the company in the seed stage, but we also saw some new investors like Google Ventures and Polaris Partners participating in the round. So Freenome is a company that is, I'm going to go back to the deal search page. Freenome is focusing on cancer diagnostics. And right below that, we have another screening and diagnostics company called Lam Therapeutics. It's a mid-stage company that raised 58 million in Series C, and it's using deep learning algorithms for screening drugs. So going back once again to our heat map, horizontal applications, which basically refers to startups working across industries, as well as startups focused on hardware required to train AI algorithms. So those are the companies in this category, and it's been one of the top categories for deals, almost the same as healthcare. Both of them are in the top two. I'm going to quickly show you some of the recent deals here. So sorting once again by amount. So the top round, almost 100 million. It's 100 million round. And here are your round investors. Foxconn Technology invested in the company. So it's a company, Cloud9 is based in China, and they're developing a cloud-based AI software that can be used to control robots remotely. And right below that, you have Rigetti Computing, which is actually a quantum computing startup, but they're developing cloud-based solutions, computing solutions specifically for the artificial intelligence industry, which would benefit AI as such across multiple sectors. And we'll quickly go into some of these emerging applications later in the webinar. But before that, I wanted to show you how you can track all of these companies easily in one place. So here, I'm going to click on collections. And I want to show you the artificial intelligence public collection. So collections can help you track AI companies in one place. So you can think of it as really a research portal into artificial intelligence that you can not only share with your team, but also non-users of CB Insights. I'll quickly show you some examples of how you can use it. So here are all the categories that we saw in our heat map. So say you want to know what are the startups working on horizontal applications. You click on this hashtag and you would populate it with all these companies. And say you want to interact with someone on your team, just click on the company. I'm going to say Alex, check out this company here, looks interesting. And now Alex is going to get a notification and he's going to take a look at the startup. So you can also invite users who don't have a CB Insights profile so that they can see what the top investors are, what the companies are. So quickly going into the investors tab, I'm going to organize this by portfolio companies. And like I mentioned before, Intel and Data Collective are really the top investors in AI startups, and you can click on more to see what the portfolio companies are that Intel is invested in. Some of the older investments that have been acquired now, MindMeld, Saffron Technology, and Cosi is also a robotic software company. You have industrial IoT companies like Mana, so it's really a mixed bag of companies that are using machine learning across several industries. So here's where you can, easy way to track all the companies. So I'm going to close out of this and take you back to the presentation deck. Okay, back to the presentation. Here's the page, the deals tracker page that I just showed you, and at the bottom I've included the link to the page, so you can click on the link, and we're going to be updating the deals tracker every month, so you can check back to see what are the more recent deals. And I've also included a link to the AI public collection, so you know where to find it. So like I mentioned before, we took a look at some of the patent application activity of some of the AI startups that are still active, which means that have not been acquired, that have not exited. And we analyzed more than startups for more than 1,150 companies, and we found that only 11% of them have been granted a patent from 2009 up till now, and also, to be clear, these are only US patent application activities. And one of the reasons for this could be that, like I mentioned before, most of these companies are still in the seed angel stages, a lot of new companies entering the space. And also another reason could be that startups are using all the open source libraries that we saw before to build on them, as opposed to currently directing their R&D efforts to starting AI applications from scratch. Moving on, I'm going to quickly spotlight the top 2 vertical applications that we saw on the heat map. One was healthcare and the next was commerce. So healthcare applications really range from, say, remote patient monitoring, imaging and diagnostic procedures, reducing drug discovery times, among other things. Here's a general funding trend for AI in healthcare. As you can see from the funding chart, deals and dollars reached a 5-year high in 2016, but also on the right you can see some of the deals outside the United States. Around 27% of the deals went to startups outside. As you can see, UK was one of the hottest areas for investment outside US for healthcare AI companies. Here is a market map showing different startups that are working in healthcare AI, categorized by their area of focus. Under virtual assistants on the right, you can see Babylon Health, which was backed last year by Google DeepMind Technologies and Kinnevik. And especially you can see that on the top, imaging and diagnostics is very crowded. In fact, 19 of the 24 startups that we've highlighted here raised their first equity round after January 2015. So a lot of new companies entering in the space, especially for imaging and diagnostic applications using artificial intelligence algorithms. Moving on, here are the top investors specifically in healthcare. Khosla Ventures, Data Collective was the top investor, followed closely by Khosla Ventures. Some of the startups here, like Predilytics, which was backed by GV and Flare Capital, has been acquired. Also Exploris, which was also backed by Flare Capital, third from the top, was acquired by IBM in 2015. And so the CB Insights Mosaic score that you see here is a way to gauge the health of private companies using different signals like investment history, market trends, momentum, etc., social media mentions. And so we here we take a look at some early stage companies to watch based on Mosaic scores as well as investor profiles. We saw Freenome in the presentation earlier, backed by Data Collective and Andreessen Horowitz. Founders Fund, Google Ventures has a Mosaic score of 890 out of 1,000, which is pretty high. Below that, you have Kensai, which is working on predictive risk analytics. Again, a Mosaic score of more than 800. Moving on to commerce. So here you have companies that are leveraging AI for visual search, language processing, creating chatbots that are easy to interact with. They're using machine learning for behavioral analytics or in-store analytics, among other things. To quote the CEO of eBay, he said this at the Shop Talk conference this year: if you don't have an AI strategy, you're going to die in the world that's coming. And here's some retail AI in the news. One of the most popular news for retail AI was Amazon, which is planning to unveil its smart convenience store, and it's going to do away with long checkout lines. They're going to use image recognition algorithms to directly charge your credit card for the items that you pick up, and you can just walk out of the store. Here's again some funding history into AI in commerce. If you see in the right, 42% of the deals went outside the US since 2012. If you remember, in healthcare, it was only 23%. So more of the AI commerce deals have been going to non-US startups. Here are some of the companies. They're working on all different stages of the process, as you can tell from this market map: back-end merchandising, as well as suggesting products to consumers, visual in-store monitoring, etc. And here are some of the top investors in Commerce AI. You have Reflection, which is one of the more well-funded companies backed by Battery Ventures, and Intel Capital backed COSI, which is robotic software for retail robots. And here are some of the early stage companies to watch. You can see Databerries, which uses AI for location-based ad targeting for retailers, has a Mosaic of 840. At the bottom, you can see early stage company Twiggle, which was backed by the Alibaba Group to develop an e-commerce search engine. Moving on to some of the horizontal applications that we discussed earlier, here's an annual funding trend for horizontal AI applications. So deals have been fluctuating in 2015, but they really gained momentum last year. And here's the landscape of some of the companies that raised funds in 2015 and 16. In the third column under conversational AI, you can see Mobvoi. If you remember, back in 2015, Google invested almost 60 million in Mobvoi, entering into the Chinese market. And more recently, Mobvoi, this month, it raised a huge funding round from Volkswagen. And below that, in the same column, second from the bottom, you have Kit.ai, which is backed by the Alexa Fund. And in the other category, you have CloudMinds, which is a cloud-based AI software to remotely control robots. Although I must mention that hardware-focused robotic startups have been excluded from this analysis, but you can find those find that data on our blog, cbinsights.com/blog, and you can just do a search for robotics, or you can also download our robotics webinar from earlier. So let's move on to some emerging applications of artificial intelligence. So these are some of the rows that you would see at the bottom of the heat map, which are just beginning to pick up. So one of those companies is Mobalytics, which is for gamers. So you can see it's backed by General Catalyst, Founders Fund, and a couple other investors. It's still in its early stages, and what it basically does is uses machine learning to analyze a gamer's performance during the game using metrics such as vision, team play consistency, etc. Another application is in EdTech, or education technology. We have an early stage company called Gradescope, backed by Bloomberg Beta, K9 Ventures. So Gradescope uses machine learning to learn from previously graded answers and predict how new answers should be graded based on that. And like I mentioned before, one of the major applications for AI is forecasting models. So in travel tech, a company called Flyer that has raised more than 14 million and has seen investment from investors like JetBlue Technology Ventures, Steel Capital. So Flyer is basically using AI algorithms for price forecasting, demand forecasting, etc., targeting the travel industry. And then another application that's really picking up is legal tech. So here's an example of case text backed by Union Square Ventures and Formation 8. Not only does it help with legal search, but also recommends case laws based on the brief that you're feeding it. And finally, here's another application, a digital photo frame called Aura. So Aura has raised more than 9 million in funding from Spark Capital. So basically, it's digital photo frame that uses facial recognition to automatically tag your friends. It automatically discards low quality images, and also responds to gesture. So some interesting applications there. Finally, we'll wrap up our webinar with one of the ongoing debates in the tech industry, which is the artificial general intelligence. All the applications that we saw so far are very narrow applications of AI. So you're training algorithms to do very specific tasks. So the concept of general AI is that it's an AI system with human level intelligence and cognitive abilities, and can perform a broad range of tasks and use that knowledge to solve unfamiliar problems without you having to train it for those problems. So some people are bullish about it. Here's a quote from Marek Rosa, who says, "We're going to get there in this century, definitely. But some people have their doubts." Here's a quote from Paul Allen, who says, we need to first understand human cognition entirely before translating that into algorithms for machines. So you can see his quote, "This prior need to understand the basic science of cognition is where the singularity's near argument fails to persuade us." However, we did see Google DeepMind publish a paper on general AI's first steps, as it calls it. The paper is available online if you're interested, in the link below. And we also are seeing some startups that are claiming to be working towards artificial general intelligence. One of them is Kindred. It's raised 15 million in funding, and you can see some of the investors below: Bloomberg Beta, Google Ventures, all brand name investors, Data Collective, and a couple other investors. And we also took a look at the patent application activity of these startups to see what they're focusing on. And here's one of the patents that Kindred applied for, titled Methods of Self-Preservation of Robotic Apparatus. Here's another company, Vicarious Systems, Samsung Ventures, Wipro Ventures, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg are all investors in the company. It's raised more than 65 million, as you can see from the funding history. And Vicarious is focusing on cortical networks. And here are some of its patents. Finally, you have Numenta, which has raised a little over 23 million and from investors including Sky Moon Ventures. And Numenta also has the most patent application activity out of the 3 startups that we've seen working on general AI. And so I'm going to wrap up this section with this quote from Stuart Russell, who said, "This 18-month period we're in now will be seen as being crucial for the history of AI community. It's when the AI community finally woke up and took itself seriously." That's all I have for you today. I have a couple of questions here with me. The first one is, which industry will see the impact of AI immediately? And there are a couple of questions about deals to Asia, Europe, countries in North America outside of the United States. So I'll answer the first question on industry impact. Most of the AI applications still have human in the loop, so it's not like AI has taken over a task, be it healthcare or sales and CRM or even chatbots. That said, healthcare, as we saw, is one of the more popular categories within AI. Not only do you have IBM Watson, Google DeepMind, but we're also seeing a lot of AI startups specifically focusing on healthcare that have raised their first equity just in recent months. Apart from that, industrial IoT, just because of the massive amount of data that you have there. Fintech, as we saw, is very popular, sales and CRM. So these are some of the industries that have started using AI in some form. About the geographic deals distribution to specific countries, that would again depends on the category. As we saw, UK was quite popular for healthcare deals. For commerce, we saw India, France. In terms of overall AI deals, countries like Israel, Canada, China, they're all in the top 10. So those are some of the countries. But if you have, we're running out of time, but if you have any other specific questions, just write to me at dvardarajan@cbinsights.com, or you can tweet at us at cbinsights with the hashtag AI. Thank you and have a nice day.
Okay, thanks, Deepa. Riley here again. I just wanted to quickly say a few things about CB Insights. Thank Deepa for walking you through our platform. So we're a private market database. We track all the private companies in the world, all the financing and investment activity related to them. We help our clients answer questions about major trends, competitor strategy, potential disruptors, and much more. Here you can see a few of our happy customers. If you have any questions about our platform or are looking to find out a little bit more, feel free to reach out to us and let us know. Thanks. Bye.